You're looking at Japan's most lucrative industry. It makes more money than Vegas, Macau, and Singapore combined, and yet it isn't gambling, technically. Welcome to the rabbit hole that is Pachinko. To understand why this is a multi-billion-dollar business built on a technicality, we have to look at where it came from, which oddly enough started with candy. Pachinko's great-grandpa was the Corinth game, a vertical pinball cabinet imported from the West in the late 1920s. In Japan, these machines ended up in the dagashiya, or candy stores, and here they were renamed pachi-pachi, an onomatopoeia for the sound the balls made clattering around. If you won, you got a handful of cheap sweets, simple, legal, and innocent. Then came World War II, which shut down the whole operations for obvious reasons. When it returned in the late 40s, it came back with a vengeance, and a key innovation in the 1950s, the electric launcher. Suddenly, you weren't gently tapping balls one by one with a stick. You were launching them by the hundreds per minute. It went from a quiet distraction to relentless, chaotic entertainment, and most importantly, the adults were hooked. Now, here's where that technicality comes in. Japanese law prohibits gambling, or more specifically, getting cash prizes for said gambling. So, how do you cash out your winnings in Pachinko? You employ a legal loophole called the 3-point system, aka Senten Hoshiki. Step 1. You have to actually win in the game of Pachinko. I won't get into what it takes here, but the main goal is to walk away with more balls than you paid to win them. Once you get to a substantial amount, you take your receipt that shows the tally of how many you won to the Pachinko parlor's prize counter, which importantly is still inside the parlor. Step 2. The parlor can't give you cash in exchange. Instead, they give you a small special prize token called tokushu keihin. It might look like a keychain or a metal disc. This varies between establishments. It's highly traceable and is equal to the amount of balls you won. For any small fraction of points left over, they give you something like candy or a cheap lighter or some other small thing. Step 3. You take the tokushu keihin, and only the token, you keep the little cheap prizes, and walk out of the building. Around the corner or somewhere nearby, but technically separate from the parlor, is a small nondescript building, well, more of a shed really, which is technically run by a completely different company. This is the cash exchange booth, or kankinjo. This separate booth buys the token from you for cash, and because the parlor didn't give you money, and the kankinjo isn't a gambling facility, it's just buying a used trinket. In the eyes of the law, it's no different than selling one of your own personal items to a second-hand shop. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you convert 20,000 metal spheres into 70,000 yen without technically breaking the law. The final key to understanding this massive gray zone business is who runs it. After World War II, the pachinko industry became less appealing to mainstream Japanese businesses due to its association with the black market and the legal ambiguity of the cash exchange. This created an entry point for those excluded from traditional Japanese society, primarily the Zainichi Korean community, permanent residents of Korean descent living in Japan. These entrepreneurial families filled the vacuum, creating an industry they could wholly own and operate. Today, while it's difficult to get an exact number, estimates frequently suggest that up to 80% or more of pachinko parlors are owned by these Zainichi individuals or corporations. This concentration of cash flow in a legally opaque industry also naturally attracted interests from organized crime or the Yakuza. Their involvement, whether through protection rackets, debt collection, or outright ownership of exchange booths, only deepened the industry's reputation as a high-stakes, gray market monolith. So, is it a bit convoluted? Sure, but it's also hard to deny it's clever. They took a simple parlor game, threw in an electric motor, then wrapped the whole thing in a brilliant 3-stage legal handshake, all operated by a group of highly effective entrepreneurs working on the edges of society. The outcome? A game that looks like a carnival but runs on the precise economics of regional exchange rates and mandatory obscurity. Just remember the simple rule. If you want N, pocket the candy and only exchange the tokushu keihin. Thanks for watching. And if there's some other aspect of the more obscure side of Japan that you'd like explained, let me know in a comment below and maybe I could help out.